exploring our home away from home. The dogs are in the back. Let's go!
The day we visited Mammoth Cave National Park, the car said the temperature was 99 degrees and it was very high humidity. We were looking forward to getting below ground because Mammoth Cave stays at the constant 54 degrees. I've been in the largest geode and was looking forward to going in the world's longest cave. Mammoth Cave is the world's longest known cave system, with more than 420 miles of surveyed passageways. New discoveries add several miles to this figure every year. The name refers to the large entrance and was in place before anyone knew how large the cave system was. The purpose of Mammoth Cave National Park is to preserve, protect, interpret, and study the internationally recognized biological and geographic features and processes associated with the largest known cave system in the world, the park's diverse forested karst landscape, the Green and Nolan rivers, and extensive evidence of human history, and to provide and promote public enjoyment, recreation, and understanding. Mammoth Cave developed in thick Mississippian-aged limestone strata capped by a layer of sandstone, which made the system remarkably stable. It was created by the natural process of limestone erosion, known as karst topography. During this process, rain and rivers slowly dissolved and shaped soft limestone, creating a vast system of caves. Underground rivers are still carving new passages today. The National Park Service offers several cave tours to visitors. Some notable features of the cave, such as Grand Avenue, Frozen Niagara, and Fat Man's Misery, can be seen on lighted tours ranging from 1 to 6 hours in length. 2 tours, lit only by visitor-carried paraffin lamps, are popular alternatives to the electric-lit routes. Several wild tours venture away from the developed parts of the cave into muddy crawls and dusty tunnels. Reservations for cave tour tickets are strongly recommended, as they can sell out weeks in advance. I took the Domes and Dripstones tour, which sold out 6 weeks in advance. If you are headed to the park for a cave tour, use the directions from the park's website and not your GPS, which may not lead you correctly. You don't want to miss your time. The story of human beings in relation to Mammoth Cave spans 5,000 years. Several sets of Native American remains have been recovered from Mammoth Cave in both the 19th and 20th centuries. Most mummies found represent examples of intentional burial. An exception to purposeful burial was discovered when in 1935 the remains of an adult male were discovered under a large boulder. The boulder had shifted and settled onto the victim, a pre-Columbian miner, who had disturbed the rubble supporting it. The remains of the ancient victim were named Lost John and exhibited to the public in the 1970s when they were interred in a secret location in Mammoth Cave. Ancient human remains and artifacts within the caves are protected by various federal and state laws. One of the most basic facts to be determined about a newly discovered artifact is its precise location and situation. Even slightly moving a prehistoric artifact contaminates it from a research perspective. Explorers are properly trained not to disturb archaeological evidence, and some areas of the cave remain out of bounds for even seasoned explorers, unless the subject of the trip is archaeological research on that area. They tell you not to touch anything in the cave because historic trash is left in the cave. Besides the remains that have been discovered in the portion of the cave accessible through the historic entrance of Mammoth Cave, the remains of cane torches used by Native Americans, as well as other artifacts such as drawings, gourd fragments, and woven grass moccasin slippers, are found in the Salt Cave section of the system of Flint Ridge. Though there is undeniable proof of their existence and use of the cave, there is no evidence of further use past the Archaic period. Experts and scientists have no answers to why this is, making it one of the greatest mysteries of Mammoth Cave to this day. Although the credit of the cave's discovery belongs to prehistoric Native Americans, the question remains as to how the cave came to the attention of European settlers in the area. According to legend, in the late 1790s, a young boy named John Houchins was out hunting for game for his family. He spotted a black bear roaming through the forest near the entrance of the cave. He took aim and fired. His shot failed to be fatal for the bear, only wounding the animal. The injured bear ran down the hill and took shelter in the cave, leading Houchins into the cave. The legend tapers off at this point, leaving unanswered the question of whether Houchins ever got his bear, but whether or not Houchins gained the credit of the mystery discovery of the Great Cave. Mammoth Cave saltpeter reserves became significant due to the Jefferson Embargo Act of 1807, which prohibited all foreign trade. The blockade starved the American military of saltpeter and therefore gunpowder. As a result, the domestic price of saltpeter rose and production based on nitrates extracted from caves such as Mammoth Cave became more lucrative. Thousands of years of occupation by bats who deposited guano in the soil of Mammoth Cave made the cave dirt rich with a compound called calcium nitrate. Calcium nitrate is a mineral that can be mixed with other high potassium materials to create potassium nitrate, or saltpeter, as it is more commonly known. Saltpeter is a principal ingredient in black gunpowder. Mining saltpeter from the cave was extremely profitable in the early 1800s. Demand for gunpowder was at an all-time high during the war. The mining process involved extracting the calcium nitrate using water in large square vats to filter the cave dirt. A solution of water and calcium nitrate would then be pumped to the surface, where it was combined with materials such as wood ash and sometimes even ox blood to create the saltpeter. Saltpeter mining was not easy work, and not many people were willing to work in the cave in the mine. Most of the workers were enslaved African American men. Many of them were leased from nearby states, then were brought to Mammoth Cave to shovel, haul, and sift the cave dirt, working long hours in poor conditions. With the end of saltpeter mining came a new opportunity. Mammoth Cave now had a reputation as being an underground marvel, and people wanted to travel to Kentucky to see it. As early as 1816, travelers from other states, and eventually other countries, journeyed to Mammoth Cave to see what wonders it hid in the darkness of its reaches. Now that the owners of the cave found themselves in the tourism business, they needed tour guides. Many of the first guides were members of local families, but in 1838, enslaved African American guides held a more prominent presence guiding tours. When Stephen Bishop, an enslaved African American man, arrived at Mammoth Cave in 1838, the cave was a fledgling attraction for tourists, academics, and the curious. When the property was purchased by Franklin Gorin, Bishop was placed at the cave as a guide. But in addition to his duties guiding visitors along the known tourist routes, Bishop also joined in the exploration of new passageways within the cave. Bishop started guiding as a teenager and absorbed information and stories from those whom he would guide inside the cave. When the cave property was purchased by Dr. John Grogan in 1839, Bishop was among the guides that were retained to continue tour operations. In the years that followed, Bishop was present for many new discoveries that were made at Mammoth Cave. After he and a visitor successfully crossed an obstacle called the bottomless pit, many miles of the cave's labyrinth became open for further exploration. Popular cave areas such as the Mammoth Dome and the ruins of Karnak are credited as having been discovered by Bishop. Bishop was a popular guide and was often requested by tourists who had made the long trek to Mammoth Cave from all over the country. Bishop and his wife Charlotte had one son, Thomas, who was born in 1843. He eventually gained his freedom and began working at Mammoth Cave as a paid guide, and in 1856 the Bishop family moved to a 75-acre tract of land near the cave property. By the end of the summer of 1857, though, Stephen Bishop had died from unknown causes. In the early 20th century, the difficulties of farming life in the hardscrabble, poor soil of cave country influenced local owners of small nearby caves to see opportunities for commercial exploitation, particularly given the success of Mammoth Cave as a tourist attraction. The Kentucky Cave Wars was a period of bitter competition between local cave owners for tourist money. Broad tactics of deception were used to lure visitors away from their intended destination to other private show caves. Misleading signs were placed along the roads leading to Mammoth Cave. A typical strategy during the early days of automobile travel involved representatives, known as cappers, of other private show caves hopping aboard the tourist car's running board and leading the passengers to believe that Mammoth Cave was closed, quarantined, caved in, or otherwise inaccessible. Success during the Kentucky Cave Wars was often determined by accessibility. If a cave was not near the stagecoach lines to Mammoth Cave, a business had little chance to survive. Later, it was necessary to have good positioning and a station on the Mammoth Cave Railroad line to have a real shot at success. The arrival of the automobile at Mammoth Cave in the early years of the 20th century, however, gave more cave owners an opportunity to draw visitors to their underground attractions. Travelers no longer relied on others to determine the route they took to Mammoth Cave or where they could stop on their vacation, and even more cave developers joined in on the war for the tourist dollar. Stalagmites and stalactites are some of the best-known cave formations. They are icicle-shaped deposits that form when water dissolves overlying limestone, then redeposits calcium carbonate along the ceilings and floors of underlying caves. Stalactites form along ceilings and hang downward. You can remember this with the phrase, "Stalactites hang tight to the ceiling." When stalactites are actively forming, they drip water. Where that water hits the floor, a mound-shaped stalagmite will form. You can remember this with the phrase, "Stalagmites push up with all their might." If stalactites and stalagmites continue to form and eventually meet, a column will form. This creates a decorative post that reaches from floor to ceiling. This looks just like a column you might see in a building. Flowstone refers to sheets of calcium carbonate that form along cave walls. Flowstone hangs downward and may create curtain-like sheaves along ledges, better known as draperies. The most notable flowstone formation in Mammoth Cave is Frozen Niagara. This is a cave cricket. Floyd Collins was born June 20th, 1887. From an early age, Floyd developed a hobby of exploring caves. This pastime led to the discovery of Crystal Cave in 1917 beneath his father's farmland. Floyd developed the cave into a tourist attraction that boasted unique helictite and gypsum cave formations. During Floyd's time, cave tourism was a lucrative and very competitive business. Great Crystal Cave made little to no profit due to its remote location along Flint Ridge Road. Visitors had to pass by many other show caves offering similar enticing views, and they rarely made the extra effort to journey to Crystal Cave. Floyd knew of another potential cave located on property owned by Beasley Doyle. This cave, known as Sand Cave, had prime real estate situated right beside the Cave City Road. Travelers would easily pass by Sand Cave before continuing to their other show caves, such as Mammoth Cave. Floyd entered into an agreement with Beasley Doyle to explore Sand Cave and share the profits if the cave proved worthy to show. Floyd first entered Sand Cave on January 30th, 1925, with only a single kerosene lantern, and shortly found it offered many challenges. He found himself squeezing through tight passageways. As he returned through the tight crawl, his foot dislodged a 27-pound rock, which wedged his ankle in place. Try as he might in his awkward position, he could not remove his foot. He was trapped in a stone straitjacket. Thus began Floyd's harrowing tale in Sand Cave. Once it was discovered that Floyd was trapped in the cave, rescue efforts slowly ramped up. When more conventional means failed, miners began digging a shaft to reach him. Rescuers worked long hours, day and night, in hopes of finding a solution to getting Floyd unstuck from Sand Cave. The workers encountered periods of rain and cold weather, cave collapses, and disagreements among leaders on how to proceed. The rescue efforts spanned over 17 days, with many tactics to rescue Floyd attempted, but all of them ultimately failing. Throughout the rescue efforts, the story became too big for Cave City. People began to arrive from all parts of the country, and a carnival atmosphere took hold at the mouth of Sand Cave. Vendors appeared selling food, drink, and souvenirs. Thousands of sightseers descended on Cave City, and the state was forced to dispatch troops to keep order. Reporters came from all over as the news of Floyd Collins's entrapment became a national story. A reporter named Skeets Miller made several daring trips into Sand Cave to interview Floyd, interviews which would later earn him the Pulitzer Prize. On the 18th day after his entrapment, rescuers finally reached Floyd via a 55-foot vertical shaft, but it was too late. Floyd Collins was pronounced dead of exposure, and Sand Cave was sealed with Floyd's body inside. Only months later would his body be removed for a formal burial closer to his family's home near Crystal Cave. He now rests in the Mammoth Cave Baptist Church Cemetery. As the last of the Croghan heirs died, advocacy momentum grew among wealthy citizens of Kentucky for the establishment of Mammoth Cave National Park. Private citizens formed the Mammoth Cave National Park Association in 1924. The park was authorized May 25, 1926. Donated funds were used to purchase some farmsteads in the region, while other tracts within the proposed national park boundary were acquired by right of eminent domain. In contrast to the formation of other national parks in sparsely populated American West, thousands of people would be forcibly relocated in the process of forming Mammoth Cave National Park. Often, eminent domain proceedings were bitter, with landowners paid what were considered to be inadequate sums. The resulting bitterness still resonates within the region. According to the National Park Service, by May 22, 1936, 27,402 acres of land had been acquired and accepted by the Secretary of the Interior. The area was declared a national park on July 1, 1941. The Kentucky Cave Wars did not end with the creation of Mammoth Cave National Park in 1941, but continued to linger for several decades as former competitors closed and some became incorporated into the national park. By the 1960s, however, the war had slowly come to an end. Information booths and cappers began to disappear, and cave owners began looking for ways to cooperate and cross-promote. Despite the damage done to lives, resources, and reputations, competition and conflict had driven the people of cave country to actively explore the region for nearly a century. Their discoveries shaped the understanding of the Mammoth Cave National Park's resources and determined the tourist routes that continue to be shown to thousands of visitors annually. If you like my video, please comment below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I hope you have enjoyed this video.